So Reaper is super easy to get started with and work with. You're really going to use like a very small amount of features in Reaper. So the first thing when you do when you open the software is you're going to have to say you're still evaluating. I actually have a license, but I never use it because it's so easy to skip the evaluation stage. I just don't bother to put my license key in. When you have it open, it's very easy to import an audio file. You just grab your audio file and just drag it in up here. And there's two basic areas of the window. This is what we call the arrange section. This is what we call the mixer section. And you can hide and show the arrange and mixer section. I think over here, where is it? Here we go. So you can toggle that mixer on and off just by doing that or just using a hotkey. You can resize the track like this. And once you have the audio file in here, the thing you're going to want to do is be able to edit it. So to edit the audio file, you can drag the end of an audio file like this just to resize it. Now notice how it's snapping to these lines. And we want to turn that off by clicking this button right here. And now we can move this without snapping to the lines. The lines are there if you're doing something that's like beat-based or it has a defined tempo and you want everything to stay in sync. In this case, we're not worrying about having things be recorded in sync with a clock in Reaper, so we're just working freely. So you can just drag this to sort of edit the start point of an audio clip. You can also edit the fade. So the fade is how long it takes for the sound to fade in. Before I play back audio, I'm going to go up to our settings, go to my audio device, and make sure that I'm using the right audio device here. So you might need to take a look at your system and figure out how to get your headphones to be the thing that you listen to audio from. Right now I'm streaming it to my web capture device, which is this Telestream. Okay. So once you have that, you can apply and OK, and you should be able to hear audio. And you should be able to hear this fade. I'll make it really gradual, which will gradually fade the audio in.
So your headphones can get plugged in right
so you
to the
can
side.
Right? So easy enough to change to adjust a fade. It will automatically create a very short fade for you, which is good because if you don't have a fade at all, sometimes you can get clicks and pops at the beginning of an audio file. So you always want to have a very short fade at the beginning and end of every audio clip. You can have longer fades if you want to. You can be creative in terms of creating, especially fade out. It's very normal to have a gradual fade out to help make the sound, again, more natural, sort of like you're thinking about this as a sound compositional tool, right? So it doesn't have to be natural necessarily, it just has to sound like the right thing to you, it has to make sense to you. The next thing you're probably going to want to do is split an audio file. To do that, you find the section of the audio file you want to capture.
This is the Zoom H4. So your headphones.
So,
This is the Zoom H4. So your headphones can get plugged in right to the side. Power this in two right there. One is without.
So this is kind of a confusing audio file. I'm not sure why it's doing that. That's okay. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select this segment of audio that I'm going to capture.
Right there. One is without.
And in order to split this, I'm going to move my cursor. So this is sort of like the playback cursor. I'm sorry. There's a couple things going on here. I just created a loop. If you want to loop a section, you can select a section of audio like that, put the loop button on, and then make sure that the cursor's inside
there.
it.
One is with right there. One is with right there. One is with.
This is great if you just want to monitor and sort of like listen to a section over and over again. Once you have that section selected, then you can split items at time selection, which has the hotkey of Shift S. If you want to, you can also split items at the cursor, which is just the key S. So if I do Shift S, I just split this audio into its own section. And now I can move this over here, and this is its own audio section. Over here, if I decide I just want to get rid of this first part of the audio, I can move the cursor and then select S, and it splits it right where the cursor is. And then I can just delete this, maybe tweak the fade a little bit, and now I have a nice audio file that is edited and ready to export. Okay, so you can go ahead and edit all of these. The other things you might want to do is if you double click this, it'll pop up this dialog and you can change the volume just of this sound clip, right? So hit apply, you'll see this gets a lot bigger. That's too big. I can make it this way and it's gonna get a lot smaller. So if you need to adjust the volume of your audio file, you can do that. You can also just type a number in here if you want to. The other thing that you can do in this panel is you can change the pitch of your audio file. And if you do that, it's going to shift the pitch, but it's also going to not change the length of it. So if I do like 12 here.
So your headphones can get...
Notice that the length of the audio file didn't change, but the pitch did. I go back here and I unclick this and do the same thing. Whoops, I guess that didn't do what I was expecting it to do. Maybe the way to get it to do what I wanted to do here is to unclick this and set the playback rate to 0.5. Now it's going to play back slower and lower pitch. So now the actual audio file, to get that whole audio file, I'd have to make it twice as long. You can very easily just drag a file onto a new track and then do that. And so now that original audio file is, the whole audio file is twice as long because I slowed the pitch down and I can listen to it. Now I have multiple tracks. Maybe I want to mute a track so I don't have to worry at this point. I'm only hearing this track. The other thing I could do is I could solo this track and only listen to this track. All right, so for now, I think that's all we really need to do. The only last thing we have to do is we have to export these audio files. The easiest way to do that is to select an audio file, go to File, Render, and here we're going to select our output, which is our master mix. That's the thing we're listening to. So if I hit play right now,
Right there. One is with right.
I'm hearing both of these tracks, right? I'm trying to loop off just because that's not relevant right now. So if I solo this, now I only hear this track. So whatever's we're hearing is what the render is going to output. So we're hearing only this track, which is correct. I'm going to select it again. Okay, so what I like to do when I'm exporting is I like to move this up here. I like to select the region I want to export like this. Go up to render. Make sure I'm exporting my mix. Make sure I'm going to choosing the time selection. That's what I just selected up here with this little selection box. I'm going to give it a random name. You can choose a folder if you want to. You can also use wildcards to automatically name files based on their track name, like this. But it doesn't really matter that much once you've done that. We're not worrying about all of these files. We're just going to render a file. And when you do that, I've got no idea where I exported this. Let's go ahead and throw this on my desktop. There we go. So I'm going to render that one file. It goes pretty quickly, which is kind of nice. And now I can go to my desktop and I can find my file and make sure that it sounds correct. Okay. So you'll want to do that render process for every audio file. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put each file on a separate track, and then I just adjust the endpoint of my time selection. And you want to make sure that your time selection contains the entire audio file, but you don't want your time selection to be super long all the time because then you have a lot of wasted space. It's kind of up to you how you do that, but for sure it should start at the very beginning of your audio file. So as soon as you play the audio file, you should hear the file that you're playing, right? Okay. Once you've done that and exported all of those files, you should put them into a zip file, compress them, and submit them, and you are done.